Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into the fascinating and, let's be honest, often cryptic world of the artist Bob Camblin.
Hmm.
You've sent in a really rich collection of sources, everything from his own wonderfully strange quotes to biographical details and thoughtful analyses of his art.
Yeah, quite a mix.
So our mission, to unpack this extraordinary material and really try to get to the core of Camblin's, well, undeniably unique vision.
It promises to be a fascinating exploration. Bob Camblin, born in Oklahoma in 1928,
Yeah,
he was clearly an individual who charted his own course.
definitely seems that way.
A prolific artist, wasn't really confined by medium, and a longtime educator who then, deliberately chose a very different, more solitary path later on.
Right.
And the fact that his work was so respected by his peers, yet remains largely unknown to the broader public, that just makes this deep dive all the more compelling, I think.
Yeah, what were the key elements that shaped this compelling yet sort of elusive figure?
Exactly.
And the diverse nature of the material you've gathered really lets us approach Camblin from, well, multiple angles. We have these incredible personal quotes from him. They're poetic, philosophical,
Sometimes almost like Zen riddles, yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Then there are excerpts from his biography,
Mhm.
giving us a narrative of his life and career, plus insightful reviews, forewords from art books.
And even that YouTube transcript dissecting one of his key watercolors, live music.
Right. It's a real treasure trove, really ripe for exploration.
And what immediately stands out, for me anyway, as a potential key to understanding Camblin, is that quote where he talks about sticking with common sense,
Uh-huh.
to appreciate miracles on both sides of science and magic, hoping for a bright gray where they intersect.
That bright gray.
This
model.
idea of embracing paradox, finding a balance between things that seem opposite, it feels like a crucial framework for interpreting his art and his philosophy.
Yep.
It suggests a mind that was, well, comfortable with ambiguity and found wonder in those liminal spaces.
Okay, let's delve deeper then. Into these beginnings. Let's explore Camblin's early life. Growing up in Ponca City, Oklahoma. During a really dynamic period, wasn't it? The rise and fall of the Marland estate.
Oh, absolutely. That must have been quite formative.
And it seems his artistic inclinations were almost like inherited. Both parents were artists.
Undoubtedly. I mean, to be raised in that environment with the imposing presence of the Marland estate and that iconic pioneer woman statue as constant visual references,
Right.
that must have significantly influenced his early artistic sensibilities. And it's quite telling, that detail about his personal shorthand for the pioneer woman VV.
Representing his mother, Viva Camblin.
Exactly. It immediately shows that deep connection between his personal experiences and his broader artistic perceptions.
And it wasn't just visual stuff, apparently. Camblin was an exceptionally keen reader from a young age.
Yeah, voracious, it sounds like, immersing himself in Emerson, the I Ching, even haiku.
Wow. Eclectic mix.
It really is. And that early exposure seems to foreshadow the diverse, thought-provoking nature of his later work, doesn't it?
It certainly does. That early engagement with, say, Eastern philosophy and the concise nature of poetry, it probably contributed to his own succinct, often enigmatic way of putting complex ideas into words.
I think so. And then, of course, his formal training at the Kansas City Art Institute and that Fulbright scholarship to Italy, those were pivotal.
Huge opportunities.
Absolutely. That year in Italy exposed him to the legacy of the old masters, the powerful imagery in the Uffizi Gallery, and what he dramatically called his mummies in the Capuchin catacombs.
His mummies, wow.
Yeah. These encounters, with both profound beauty and that stark reality of mortality, clearly left an indelible mark. They gave him these abstract, figurative elements that, kept reappearing in his work.
You can almost trace those Italian influences later on.
Okay.
So let's turn directly to Camblin's own words now. Those insightful, sometimes puzzling quotes you mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
They really offer a unique window into his artistic concepts and his philosophies.
They really do.
Yeah.
Take, for instance, the quote, "Not a leaf moves, and yet we all feel the cool breeze." On the surface, it's about inner feeling, subjective experience, hinting at a reality beyond just what we see.
Right, something intangible.
But maybe it also suggests a shared, unspoken understanding, an atmosphere that goes beyond just one person's observation.
That resonates with another powerful one.
Yeah.
Step off the train of thought, to find the power that is no power, to do the work that is not work, to laugh the true laugh. Bending is not bowing.
That's a big one.
It feels like a direct invitation, doesn't it? To move beyond our usual sort of linear thinking, to tap into something deeper, more intuitive.
Precisely. That idea of power that is no power and work that is not work. It echoes a kind of Zen understanding, doesn't it? Achieving through non-action, finding strength in yielding.
Yeah, instead of forcing it.
And that distinction between bending and bowing suggesting resilience, adaptability, but without compromising your core integrity.
He also had some compelling thoughts on the purpose of art itself, how he shifted from art for art's sake to art for life's sake.
Or even art for survival's sake.
Yeah, that's quite a significant reevaluation of art's role.
It really is. It reflects maybe a growing awareness of art's capacity to engage with the human condition on a more fundamental level. Art for art's sake was all about intrinsic value, separate from society.
Right, the aesthetic ideal.
But Camblin seems to be saying, no, art can address essential parts of existence. It can be more than just, looking nice.
We also see these recurring motifs in his quotes:
Yep.
balance, patience, freedom, silence. They seem like guiding principles for him.
Absolutely. And they often seem intertwined in his statements, don't they? Highlighting how they're connected.
Like how?
Well, he often links balance and patience, like you need one for the other, and then freedom is something you can find within that. And silence having the power to, sustain reality, provide respite from pain. It all points to a deep internal awareness.
And then there's this intriguing idea about reality being deceptive. The real seeing has its own property of deception. That implies our first impressions might not be the whole story, and maybe art can peel back those layers.
What's fascinating is the active role he gives deception in real seeing. It suggests we need to question our immediate assumptions, that reality is maybe more nuanced than it looks.
So art becomes a tool.
Exactly, a tool for unmasking those deceptions, leading us towards deeper, maybe more unsettling truths.
Which connects beautifully to his playful, questioning attitude towards truth itself. When understood, all truth is funny.
Yeah, there's a lightness there.
Right, like maybe taking our certainties too seriously stops us from getting a deeper understanding.
That humor is so important. It avoids dogma, rigidity. It recognizes the irony and absurdity that can often come with even profound truths. Kind of deflates pretension,
Yeah, keeps things open. He also draws a line between believing and knowing. Says mystics have been somewhere beyond logic.
That speaks to the limits of just rational thought, doesn't it? Acknowledging that experience, maybe even transpersonal knowledge, is valid too.
It underscores that difference between just intellectually accepting something.
And actually realizing it directly, personally, yeah. In Camblin's view, mystics have tapped into something that goes beyond just logic, suggesting intuition, maybe altered states, can offer unique insights.
And these are particularly thought-provoking. Art is and it isn't, and love, art. They feel almost like koans.
They do. They speak to how elusive both concepts are. Art is and it isn't. Maybe that points to art's ephemeral quality. It's a thing, but it's also an experience, an idea.
The isn't part.
Could be its constant evolution, how it depends on context, interpretation, or maybe how the initial creation becomes something new for the viewer. And equating love with art suggests both are about more than just, a physical thing or a fleeting feeling.
Like they share qualities.
Maybe connection, creation, transformation, a certain inability to be fully pinned down.
He also talks about participatory art, moving away from preciousness. That sounds pretty progressive for his time.
It really does. Hints at redefining that artist-audience relationship.
How so?
Well, it suggests wanting to dismantle that old hierarchy. Artist creates, audience passively receives. Participatory art back then often meant actively involving the viewer, moving away from art as this precious, untouchable thing towards something more dynamic, interactive.
Makes sense. And this is a really insightful point.
Yeah.
That knowledge isn't necessarily the same as education.
Right.
And how hard it is to convey feeling without direct experience.
It really highlights the limits of just formal learning, doesn't it? And underscores how crucial personal engagement is for truly understanding and communicating emotions.
Yeah.
It's a potent reminder that real understanding often goes beyond just facts and figures. It needs a deeper, more visceral connection. You can tell someone about sadness, but you can't transmit the feeling without shared experience, really.
Finally, there's this wonderfully optimistic, almost liberating thought. In making the best of it, there are no mistakes.
Ah, that's a beautiful sentiment. Suggests that even what we see as errors can be part of the process, part of life itself.
Like the intention is what matters.
It implies that the intention, the effort to do our best, is what truly counts. And maybe those apparent mistakes are just unexpected directions or chances to grow.
It's like he's giving us permission to just embrace the journey, flaws and all.
Hmm.
Okay, shifting focus a bit, let's explore Camblin's artistic evolution. We know he started out in abstract impressionism.
Hmm.
Was there anything distinctive about his approach even then?
Well, we don't have tons of visuals easily available from that early period, but his abstract impressionist work likely shared the movement's focus on, spontaneous gesture, emotional expression, non-representational forms.
Standard for the style.
Pretty much. But knowing where he went later, it's plausible that even back then there were subtle hints of the personal symbols and philosophical undercurrents that became so much stronger later on.
And then, in the 70s, he really broke new ground with his Muchas Volantes style,
Ah, yes, the flying flies.
characterized by these incredibly intricate patterns of dots and dashes, creating almost mesmerizing optical illusions. The biography compares him to Escher and Dali. Was Muchas Volantes like a known art term?
It's more likely a descriptive term, maybe even coined just for his work then. Flying flies, it vividly captures that shimmering, vibrating quality of those patterns.
Okay.
While it wasn't a formal movement like op art, it definitely aligns conceptually with op art from the same time, which also played with optical illusions. But Camblin's approach had its own unique character, that meticulous detail.
Muchas Volantes, flying flies. It's such an evocative name for a style that directly messes with your perception,
It really is. It sounds like it was intentionally designed to challenge and activate the viewer's eye and mind.
not passive viewing then.
Absolutely not. It required active engagement. Your eye tries to resolve these patterns, creating a sense of movement, maybe instability, highly innovative, blurring those lines between perception and reality, a key theme for him, as we've seen.
And then there's his significant involvement in collaborative projects, especially in Houston, with Earl Staley and Joe Tate.
Right, under banners like B&E Productions and The Holding Firm.
Sounds like they were deliberately pushing against the traditional idea of the lone artist.
They absolutely were. The Houston art scene then seems to have fostered this spirit of experimentation, questioning norms, and Camblin was clearly a driver.
B&E Productions, the holding firm.
They organized these collaborative events and exhibitions, challenged the whole idea of the solitary genius and the precious art object. Shows like the tattoo show, Joe Tate's Backyard, the camping show.
A tattoo show
What?
back then.
Definitely provocative. It sounds like they prioritized shared creative experiences, breaking down boundaries over just making individual masterpieces.
And it's so telling that he often chose to sign his works as anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
That really underscores this recurring theme, doesn't it? Transcending the ego for something more collective or universal.
It speaks to a profound commitment to the idea that the art, the ideas, are more important than the artist's fame. It's a radical gesture, really, but fits perfectly with his philosophy balance, moving beyond the self.
Now, let's delve into the analysis of live music.
Yeah.
That YouTube transcript and the book excerpt give such a rich description of this watercolor.
Yeah, live music seems absolutely pivotal for understanding his engagement with memory, identity, the past.
The composition sounds remarkable.
It really does. A self-portrait in a red haze on one side, his thatched roof studio emerging from swirls of color on the other.
In between them,
This collection of containers, bottles, cans, jars, each apparently holding miniature figures, faces, fragments of memory.
wow. It's described as having this quality of both a still life and almost a dreamlike assemblage. Very personal, evocative atmosphere.
Hmm. And the interpretation of the containers as memory capsules. And the figures inside as fragments of past experiences transformed into living art. That's such a powerful image.
It truly is. And the title, Live Music, is key, isn't it?
Absolutely crucial. The analysis suggests the figures in the jars represent the pulsing of memories or life experiences manifested as figurines, basically a visual song of the artist's life.
Memory made tangible, but still alive.
Yeah,
Dynamic.
exactly.
The YouTube analysis even draws these fascinating links to the I Ching, hexagram 49, revolution or molting,
Shedding the old for the new.
and hexagram 29, the abysmal water, the deep flow of time.
Right.
That adds a significant layer of philosophical depth. Why those specific hexagrams, do you think?
Well, hexagram 49, revolution, speaks directly to transformation, that cycle of renewal and decay in life and memory. Preserving memories in these capsules could be like acknowledging the past but allowing it to transform.
Okay.
And hexagram 29, the abysmal water, emphasizing the deep, often challenging flow of time that resonates with memory as something persistent but also ever-changing, a current shaping our present.
So the music of our lives.
Is composed of these experiences flowing through time, constantly being replayed, reinterpreted. That seems to be what Camblin's getting at.
And the idea of creativity as a kind of time travel, but with a caution against controlling the process too much.
Hmm.
That strongly echoes his earlier quote about stepping off the train of thought.
Absolutely. Reinforces that idea that true creativity involves some surrender, letting the subconscious, the flow of time, guide things, rather than rigidly dictating the outcome.
The past informs the present, but shouldn't stifle the new.
Precisely.
So live music isn't just a painting, it's like a profound meditation on memory, music, and the act of preservation.
Yeah.
And it really invites us, the viewers, to think about the melodies and rhythms of our own histories. It's deeply evocative.
It is. It makes you consider which memories you might be holding on to too tightly. What would it mean to let them resonate? Maybe transform.
Following this intense period, Camblin made a pretty dramatic decision in 1976.
Right. Quitting his academic career.
To embrace life as a nomadic artist,
Yeah.
that's a huge leap of faith, a radical redefinition of his path. How does that shift connect to the themes we've been discussing?
It's fascinating, isn't it, how that decision seems to directly mirror those themes of stepping off the train of thought, the desire for participatory art.
Yeah.
It was a very concrete way of questioning conventional structures, pursuing a more direct, unmediated engagement with the world as inspiration.
The freedom of nomadic life must have appealed.
Likely resonated with his emphasis on individual liberty, his
Mhm.
willingness to embrace the unknown, for sure.
The biography paints this picture of his wizard's den studio, full of curious objects.
Hmm?
Sounds like a tangible representation of his diverse interests, how he absorbed inspiration. It's the kind of space many artists, maybe even some listeners, dream of, right?
Yeah.
Packed with intriguing stuff.
It conjures an image of a space where the lines between everyday and extraordinary just blurred. A crucible for his unique artistic alchemy.
Like a collection of triggers.
Exactly. This curated collection likely served as both inspiration and raw material, reflecting his belief that art could be found created from the most unexpected places.
And then there's that intriguing detail about him adopting a Mr. Peanut costume,
Aha, yeah.
which eventually led to signing works as anonymous. It's almost like he was fully embodying this idea of the artist as enigmatic, maybe even a bit of a trickster.
The Mr. Peanut persona adds another layer of playful subversion, deliberately blurring identity. It's this recognizable, almost cartoonish figure he used to both engage with and maybe distance himself from art world expectations.
And then anonymous.
Feels like a logical next step. That desire to transcend ego, let the work speak for itself without the weight of a specific artistic persona.
It sounds like his later years were marked by a degree of maybe intentional withdrawal. Moving to Oregon, then Louisiana, losing contact with Houston folks,
Yeah.
which unfortunately made it hard for his admirers to organize a big retrospective of his work.
It speaks to his fiercely independent spirit, maybe wanting freedom from the demands and pressures of the established art world. Frustrating for those who admired him, no doubt, but seems consistent with his chosen path, prioritizing his personal creative journey over external recognition.
Which brings us to thinking about the essence of Camblin's art and philosophy, as distilled through reviews and quotes about him. A recurring theme seems to be that his work just defied easy labels.
Absolutely. Iconoclastic and enigmatic artist, and that phrase comes up and really captures it. His work, packed with personal symbols, cryptic messages, it operates on multiple levels, invites contemplation rather than giving easy answers.
One review nicely put it as questions disguised as images.
I like that.
Fostering a dialogue between art and philosophy, exploring the absurd and the profound, definitely aligns with his own quotes.
It does. His main interest wasn't giving answers, but stimulating thought, challenging our usual ways of seeing reality. The description of his drawings as paradoxes made visible is spot on, too,
Yeah.
highlighting his skill in encapsulating complex, contradictory ideas in deceptively simple visual forms.
We also read about his exploration of illusions, external ones, self-imposed traps like fear, time, alongside this fascination with stillness.
It's like he was mapping both the tangible and intangible landscapes of human experience.
Right.
And the way he skillfully blended abstract forms with recognizable symbols, merging ancient wisdom with modern experimentation, all aiming to heighten our awareness.
Of the world and our place in it.
Exactly. His art wasn't just about making nice objects, it was fundamentally about fostering deeper perception, deeper understanding.
Several sources emphasize how his art could connect directly with the viewer's inner self, evoking emotions, sparking thought, without needing footnotes.
That speaks to a very intuitive, powerful connection he could forge. That's often the mark of truly resonant art, isn't it? It bypasses the rational mind, connects with something deeper.
Yeah, emotionally, intuitively.
His persistent questioning of norms, his collaborative spirit, his unwavering belief in the power of good work, it all contributed to this unique voice.
And here's a concise summary. His main aim was to question common expectations of reality, often evoking a sense of the otherworldly in the familiar.
Nicely put.
Like he wanted to gently pull back the curtain on everyday perception, reveal the strangeness and wonder just beneath the surface.
Precisely. He wasn't content with the superficial, always probing for deeper meanings, something beyond the obvious. And ultimately, it seems his art was deeply personal. Autobiographical narratives, distillations of his life, striving for pure expression.
So as we draw this deep dive to a close, several key things about Bob Camblin really stand out. He was an artist who just resolutely defied simple categorization. His work, filled with those personal symbols, enigmatic messages, deep philosophical engagement, it constantly invites us to look beyond the surface and question our own perceptions. And his life's journey, that remarkable switch from academia to being nomadic, perfectly mirrors the restless exploration so clear in his art.
He really serves as a powerful reminder, doesn't he, that the path of a true artist often involves continuous questioning, pushing boundaries, and committing to a singular vision, even if it means challenging conventions and embracing uncertainty.
And that brings us to our final thought for you, our listener. Think about those songs you might be keeping silent, those unexpressed experiences, memories. Just like Camblin's live music suggests. What might it mean to let them play freely, to fully experience their resonance, maybe even create something new from their echoes?
Yeah.
How might embracing paradox, that bright gray Camblin talked about, and consciously questioning the obvious, unlock deeper understanding in your own life, your own creative work?
It's a great question to ponder.
Camblin's journey, as unconventional and, well, enigmatic as it remains, is a potent reminder that true insight often comes not from finding final answers, but from the ongoing courageous act of questioning and seeing the world with fresh eyes.